Here we go.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back for another awesome episode of the Fit 40 podcast. We have another incredible guest with us today. We got Kyle Fasano in the house. He is a trainer out of California who specializes in getting people strong and lean without giving up their pizza. And he is always rocking the world's best shirt. I'm jealous of it. It's got the pizza box, pretty much like the logo of every pizza box that has actually been good quality pizza right on it. So, Kyle, welcome to the show.
Thank you, brother. I'm gonna send you out a shirt too, so I'll get your
Hell
address
yeah. I will rock that
after
thing 24/7. Anytime you
this.
see that like red and white checker, you're like, okay, I have confidence in this pizza.
Yeah, I'm all about it. I'm going right in, no matter what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I think this is a good place to start because I know when people start their journey, when they start getting fit, pizza is usually one of those things that's like totally off limits. So, like, how
Oh,
did you
sure.
go from what most of us start on when it comes to the diet journey to where you're at now? Like, what was that beginning like for you that resulted in the methods that you use now?
Yeah, like what it was for me, like most people, is they go like super over restrictive. Um they think like any food that's not like the healthiest food is like totally off limits, can't do it. They look at things as cheat meals here and there. And when you do that and you restrict so much, you end up just kind of binging on all that later. So I'm more like just like you. I think we definitely have very similar views on a lot of things, fitness, nutrition wise. Is we're building lifestyle. We don't have to be perfect. We're training general population clients. We're not. I know I'm not putting anybody on stage. I'm not training anybody for the NFL Combine. Just trying to get people to it's behavior change, but it's just look better, feel better, get stronger. And to do that, you don't have to be so over restrictive that you're miserable. And when you're doing lifestyle changes and behavior change, you want to have fun along the way, enjoy yourself. I'm like, I love pizza. I love good food. I'm from Jersey like you. We got those families that, you know, feed us that way. And it's like, how do we find that balance? Which is, I think that's true nutrition coaching right there, rather than just saying, oh, you want to weigh this much? Like, here's eat this many calories, eat this much protein, and then report back later to me because I did this
Mhm.
calculation real quick. So, and a lot of coaches, like yourself, but we try and get people to get into the best shape of their lives while still enjoying the foods they love. And I was like, how can I brand this around me? And that's kind of how I got to lift weights, eat pizza.
Love that. And it is so true that like people do fall into that trap where it's like you got to do everything perfectly, and coaches are
Mhm.
guilty of it too. Because
Sure.
you've been to plenty, like we met, for anybody who doesn't know, we met at Vigor Ground in Seattle, run by Luca Hocevar, one of the like giants in our industry. And you could tell like when people got on stage, like Andy Galpin, for example, super smart dude, works with top athletes. He's talking about the details, like the nitty gritty of like, you need to do this, you need to do that. And everybody's eyes were glued. Like, well,
Right.
okay, tell me all the secrets. And then we
Mhm.
get someone like Sohee Lee up there, and she's talking about behavior change and the average person. And there are some people who are glued, but just not as many because so
Sure.
many people are obsessed with what's the best, what's the most optimal.
Right, right, right.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
coaches are no different when it comes to like how people view this stuff.
Hmm. Sure thing. Yeah, I think a lot of like we have to kind of put ourselves in the client's shoes too, what how they're viewing information spewed at them. Like I'll have clients talk to me all the time about something they saw on social media. In the back of my head, like if I saw it, I'm like, I'm scrolling right past that. I'm never looking at this person again. But they don't know that. That seems like real legit information. Like, why don't we do this? Because I saw this and this guy's jacked, so why don't we do what this jack guy does? So it's kind of putting them in the best position for themselves without, going too overboard with all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm assuming your feed's very similar, where it's like people talk so much smack on certain accounts or like concepts that come up, and I'm just like, when did that become a thing? I never
Yeah,
saw that.
right. Yeah, it's a lot of, yeah, and there's so much negativity on that. And I feel like it's all just kind of trainers trying to sound smarter than another trainer instead of just what can I do for value for the client? What can I post for value instead of just trying to sound smarter than someone else and bring someone else down. So there's a lot of that there
Yeah. And
too.
I kind of think it's a little bit of an influence of academia a little bit because it's like
Sure.
whoever was really, really good at school is like, how am I the most smarterest compared to everybody else? Meanwhile, the
Yeah.
people that couldn't give two shits, they're like, all right, I get it, are usually the
Mhm.
better coaches because they're like, what's the bare minimum we need to know to get a result?
Right, right, right.
Because I know you raised your hand for anybody not watching on YouTube, but I was the same way. Like I I would say C's get degrees, but I got B's. I got B's.
Yeah, I was like B, C, but also like, college dropout right here, you know?
Hey,
And
did it
which
really
is
affect
weird to
anything in the
say because
long term?
I don't never like put myself in that boat, but yeah, college college dropout right here. But it
Yep,
led me to what my passion was, which was fitness and getting into where I am today. So, at the end of the day, all worked out better.
exactly. And at the end of the day, you really can't take away like the fact that you get results. And
Sure.
that's really our job is just get
Yeah.
some freaking results.
Mhm.
So when it comes to food in particular, I know I love your take when it comes to the fact that like we don't have to go completely overboard with the strictness of it.
Right.
Like there's more value to food than just macros.
For
And
sure.
how do you feel about like how the social, cultural, and like family component all plays into that?
Oh, I think food is family, food is social, food is sure culture, like food social, sure. I think you need to look at that first before you look at food as numbers, because a lot of times I have a tougher time getting people off looking at numbers, and then they get kind of over compulsive with that because they've been tracking food for years and years and years and weighing every ounce of everything that goes in their mouth. And I've done that too for for years too. I think
Yep.
everybody, or not everybody, most people should do that at some point, but just to kind of
Yeah.
educate themselves a little bit. But a lot of eating disorders can come out the other end too. So it's kind of like when I evaluate the client, kind of see where they're at lifestyle wise, what they've done in the past, what works, and kind of wrap my head around where they're at and then put them from there. So like I have a client, he's in his 20s, lives at home, works 9 to 5, doesn't really have much other responsibility outside that. Very good relationship in food. He's crushing it, and he's been weighing and tracking everything for a while now. So he's going to continue to do that. Then once he's where he wants to be, I'm going to help him wean off that. Where I have someone else who's 50, 4 kids, married, works 50, 60 hours a week, travels 200 days a
Oh,
year,
don't
clientele
give
all
me
the
this
time.
crap. Everybody's got the same 24 hours, Kyle.
Oh
Come
yeah.
on.
Right. So like that guy's killing it, but he's also never tracked anything. Like good luck getting him to do that. So you got to kind of put yourself in what's best for the client, not just do this one size fits all for everybody.
Exactly, exactly. And there are core concepts that we all know we have to abide by. Like, but at
Sure.
the end of the day,
Yeah.
there's a million ways to get into a calorie deficit. It's
Hmm.
just knowing the different tools to get there.
Of course, yeah. And there's again,
Yeah.
can't go into one boat with that or one diet. Like I hate the word diet. I'm like, if you're doing anything with a name, like you're probably doing it wrong.
Exactly.
Uh,
It's funny we're bringing this up because literally today I had a client because I have like my PFC system, which works for most people, but at
mhm.
the end of the day, she's like, yeah, like we were having a conversation and I'm like, at one point I'm like, screw PFC. Fuck this. We don't need to do this. Like,
Yeah,
let's figure out exactly what you need to do and let's do
exactly.
that.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, that's what most people need is us to just throw the rule book out and be like, what do you need?
Exactly. And that's perfect because you're like, I have no ego. We're not going to use my system.
No.
Works for you. Let's do this. And I just try to keep a broad, view on all this. Have no ego when it comes to nutrition or like the training plans that I write. Like, what works for you? We're going to do that, and I'll put you in the best position to succeed with that. So,
Exactly. Exactly. If we're checking the boxes as far as like what's absolutely necessary, then we're
hmm,
good.
sure, sure.
I think it just comes down to the conversation of expectations too, because
Mhm.
I know at least in the space that we're talking about, where it's like all these people talking about optimal and you got to do this, you got to hit this guideline. Like, how do you like
Sure.
navigating the conversation when somebody comes to you and is like, I want to lose X amount of weight? Like, what do you usually talk to them about?
So I'll try and get a broader picture of like, okay, you want to lose 20 pounds, and then just get a little bit deeper. I usually ask them why, like 4 to 5 times before we get there and find out the real reason, just so back of their minds, they always know the real reason they're doing this, and it's more than just trying to, take your shirt off at the beach to look cool that nobody cares about. But
Yep.
Um, but yeah, doing that, and then I'll definitely try to manage expectations right away. I'm like, if you lived this way for 40 years, which wasn't the most healthiest, like you're probably not going to get that 20 pounds off in 2 months, 3 months, maybe even 6 months. Like there's behavior change we got to go on. And I'm like, I could put you on this ridiculous restrictive diet or crazy workout plan and get you there quicker, but you're going to lose it so quick that 6 months from now we circle back, you'll have gained it, lost it, and you're back at square one. Or we can look at ourselves at, it's November 7th, 8th, what's today?
The eighth.
Yeah, either way, no, it's November 8th, 2024. I want you to look at where you're going to be November 8th, 2025, instead of where you're going to look by, January 1st, 2025. So that's
Yeah.
typically what I'll do there.
Yeah, because usually the methods that'll get you where you want to go in like 2 to 3 months are not going to keep the results.
Exactly. Yeah, like unsustainable actions, unsustainable results. And most people coming to me, like I'm sure most people coming to you have gone through so many different um diets or crazy, boot camps, this and that, and got the results, lost it, got the results, lost it, got the results, lost it. I'm like, okay, I want to be the last person you go to because you've built these habits and you can carry it out, forever.
Exactly. And that's how you know you're in the right hands if somebody like tells you, "Hey, I hear you, but
Mhm.
let's zoom out. Let's
Yeah, yeah,
let's
yeah.
think long term."
Of course. I think you always
Yeah.
need a bird's eye view and give them that. And it's not always saying that your results are going to come super slow at a snail's pace. It's just saying we're not going to try and like flip this script, go 0 to 100 and burn yourself out. I want to make sure you enjoy the process during the entire time too. 'Cause if you don't,
Yeah, and I
what's the
think
point
it
of
is.
any of
Yeah,
this?
I think it is made a little bit worse by like the fact that we really like society tends to really praise fast fat loss. As soon as you hear somebody like, oh, they lost 20 pounds in the last 30 days, everybody's like, oh my God, that's so incredible. How'd you do it?
Right.
My, like, what's the diet? But it just reinforces all these thoughts that it has to happen like tomorrow.
Hmm. And then if it doesn't, like, oh, what am I doing wrong? I only lost
Yeah.
5 pounds this month. I'm like, that's fucking amazing. Like, keep that going. You're on like a 60 pound a year pace right
Yep.
there. And that's like a 0.0001% of people can do that. It's like
Exactly.
like
Exactly. And for some people, that like half a pound to 2 pound range that would be healthy
mhm,
feels like a snail's pace because of that
sure.
comparison.
Yeah, of course. So and in comparison, like it's easier said than done. We all compare ourselves to someone else at some point, but it's really important to kind of drop that, focus on yourself, do your own thing, keep the needle moving forward. Sometimes it's going to go
Yep.
like this, sometimes it's going to go like this, but kind of keep that pace over time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I know you personally, you haven't been tracking for a long time, right? Like you haven't really tracked a calorie in a few
No,
years.
but I did for a long time too.
Yeah.
So I always
Yeah.
try to like stipulate that when I say I don't, and I right now I don't have any kind of like body composition goals that's going to make me do that right now. But when I did, and I grew up a skinny guy too, like super skinny. Like high school, I was probably 165, 170 soaking wet, where I'm about 230 now. So when I was trying to
And
put
for
weight
anybody who doesn't know, Kyle's a pretty tall dude. Like I was looking up at him. So
on.
165 is not that big for your
Yeah.
height.
Yeah, for me oh man, I was like paper, like look for sideways, looked like a sheet of paper, couldn't see me. So, yeah, I was a thin guy, so putting weight on like I had to because it was very easy to undereat, which is something that's like the opposite of people dealing with fat loss. So,
Yeah, which is
um,
fair.
yeah, 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 sure. Um, but yeah, so once I was like actually tracking and seeing what was going in, because I was always someone that felt like I ate a lot, but it was also a lot of like shit foods along the way too. But once I actually broke it down, it's like, okay, this is what I need. It was a very helpful tool to help me get there. Why I think most people should at some point, but I think a lot of people think they have to. It's the only way they can get to where they're going to be is to track and continue to track and continue away and do it forever and to kind of use it
Mhm.
as a crutch rather than a tool to get to where they want to be. When you're doing that, it's kind of just like you're doing any other fad diet at that point, even if you can
Yeah.
fit these other things in with it. So,
At the end of the day, I feel like calorie counting should be like training wheels. Eventually, you got to take the training wheels off and learn how to do it without.
yeah, it's a perfect way to put it right there. Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect way to put
Because our biggest issue really is people have no idea what a serving size actually looks like.
it. Sure thing. Like you probably get it a lot where someone will come to you like, I eat healthy and I don't know
Hmm.
what's happening, and then break it down and they're having like so much fats, even if it's healthy fats, it's just so calorie dense, and they might be having 40 to 50 grams of protein a day when they should be having
Hmm.
double to triple of that. So
Yeah.
yes, learning the serving size too is something that calorie counting can very much help you with. So
Absolutely. And honestly, when somebody comes now that says, I eat really healthy, I don't know what the deal is. I'm like, I used to get a little annoyed, like, all right, are we
sure.
really eating that healthy? Now I'm
Yeah,
just like, yes, this is an awesome opportunity. Because if you
right.
are eating really like good foods, if we adjust the portion size, it's going to be the easiest transformation of all time.
Yep, yep. And it's very eye-opening to them too when they see it. So
Yeah. And it's
for
usually,
sure.
if we're being honest, it's usually when we teach them, hey, measure out a serving of peanut butter or measure out a true glass of wine. And it's like, ah,
Yeah, like oh okay. Yeah, like peanut
that's what it
butter,
was.
then like avocado, olive oil, all that stuff.
Or the
Like,
nuts, like the
yep.
handful, what it actually is.
Yeah, that's one I gotta keep a lot of people away from. Just I'm like, don't even try to do it. It's not gonna
Yep.
happen. Some people
Dude,
can, sure.
I
But
personally can't handle a bag of pistachios, but those 100-calorie packs, on the other hand, just the satisfaction of being able to rip it open and finish a bag, and it's
sure.
only 100, that's like a nice middle ground for me.
Right. Right. I think more of these companies need to do stuff like that. And like I'll do
Yep.
the same thing when someone's like, I love potato chips. I'm like, okay, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna take it out of the bag, put an actual serving on a plate, put the bag back in the cupboard, eat it off the plate, and that's it. And
Yeah.
it's helpful. It's tougher, definitely tough for some people. But if they had just made these bags that came out like that, that would be easier. So
Exactly. Or you could get the bags of chips that your kids get like at baseball camp and stuff that are
yep.
literally like 150 calories.
Yeah.
And that's a serving right there.
Hmm.
But nobody ever has one bag.
No. That's yeah. There's usually 40 bags there too, and like, I'll take three of these.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. So if somebody did, for example, they counted their calories
mhm,
for like X amount of time and they're like, "Listen, I pretty much eat mostly the same stuff. I know exactly the amounts I should," because that's really the real value is like eating the way you normally do, but
mhm,
understanding what the right amounts of that normal
sure.
eating is. Like
Hmm.
let's say somebody's got to that point. What's your favorite way to transition to like not tracking calories? Like any like core habits that you teach or any methods that seem to make the transition a little easier?
Yeah, I'll make sure they're eating everything they need to eat. Got to make sure like they're getting like also like fibers in there, fruits and vegetables are in there, like all those like micronutrient dense things that we need to be having are also in there. And once they're there, like if you're tracking 7 days a week, like very simple method, but um, becomes effective. You're tracking 7 days a week. I'm like, okay, we're gonna do take one weekday out. We're gonna do 6 days a week for 1 week to a month. It depends on the person, how long they've been doing it. And
Yeah.
then over time, take out another day, then a weekend, then another day until you're pretty much not there anymore. And that can take anywhere from I've seen 3 to 6, 7 months or so.
Yeah.
So
Sounds about right. I mean, if you're doing
yeah.
like a day for a month,
Hmm.
that lines up pretty good.
Yeah. It all depends on how long they've been doing it for. So if it's someone that's just been kind of doing it for, you know, 3 months and that's it, they'll get off it way quicker. But for someone that's been doing it for like years and years and start looking at it like I can't take these training wheels off, it's gonna take a little bit longer. But
Yeah. And I
Um,
do think too, because like most of your clients, are they in person or online or like pretty 50-50?
I'm pretty 50-50 right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do about like 20 hours or so in-person training a week, and that's a good balance for me to still be able to have enough time to pay attention to online clients, make sure they're thriving, getting all the attention they need, and still doing the in-person, which, I just enjoy being in the gym. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Reason I ask is because I know like one of the best investments anybody could make is that in-person
Mhm.
experience because then you get the
Sure.
face-to-face contact, you get the support and all that. And I think that too is one of those huge things when people are adjusting their nutrition, transitioning into a simpler way of eating is
Hmm.
such an underrated benefit.
Oh, big time, yeah. Seeing that person a couple times a week or whatever, having that accountability check-ins in person's like definitely invaluable in that point. So,
Yeah, that's one of the things I miss about doing the in person. I know all my in
yeah,
person people moved over to Zoom when I moved, but like that actual like person to person contact, like a lot of people don't really understand how much of an impact that can make on your health and your fitness. And you get to learn how to do shit the right way.
yeah, of course. Like I'm still like planning on moving my business completely online over time just because it makes sense with where I live and a lot of different things. That's a topic for another day, but
Yeah.
just enjoy like the face-to-face interaction, being in the gym all day with people. It's definitely, something you can't get on the online portion too.
Yeah.
So,
And when it comes to the training side of things, like when it comes to the exercise side,
mhm,
when somebody's just starting out with you, whether it is like we'll stick to online since most people here are going to be listening, they're not going to be in California with you.
mhm.
But if somebody was online, what are some key things you like to work on in the beginning if somebody were to say start working out because they heard this podcast? Like where would they start?
Just start working out. Um, Basically, I like to try to meet people where they're at. I'm like, okay, what do you have access to? Like dumbbells in your living rooms? Okay, cool. This is what we're gonna do. Access to full gym, or you have a home gym built out. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. And then I always make sure I get a couple of form videos from all the basic exercises from them, and if we have to hop on a Zoom like this and I can coach them through it in real time, sure. And I have to do that a lot if it's someone who's never exercised before, but I very much enjoy coaching people doing that
Yep,
that way too. So I love doing that kind of stuff. So and then yeah, if it's someone that hasn't worked out before, it's a lot of basic movements, a couple times a week. Um, Progressively getting a little bit better with it over time, and really that's that can last forever for a lot of people. So,
absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things when it came to transitioning online was that fear of like, oh, if they're not doing it perfectly, like what's going to happen? And I think a lot of people do fear like, hey, if I don't have somebody watching me, how do I know I'm not going to get hurt? But at the end of the
yeah.
day, like, do you really see like when you program properly and you do
Mhm.
it in a smart way, does anybody really get hurt to the point where it's like, oh my God, it's horrible? Or is it like a tweak here and there? And it's like, all right, we're back after a couple days.
Yeah, yeah, tweaks here and there happen, but when you program
It's part of
correctly
the deal.
and yeah, definitely upfront, there's a lot of you know, more on top of making sure getting more videos from you, more, Zoom sessions if needed for that. But once people get it and when you get the main movements down, like you can squat, you can hinge, you can lunge, push, pull. Once you can get those down, really everything's kind of a variation off that. So
Yep.
um but yeah, I was actually like worried as a coach with that too when I had first started doing online because I had only ever done in person like most people. So I was like, oh man, I gotta like stay on top, make sure they're good, and really it was a easier transition than I had thought it was going to be.
Absolutely. Because I think it's a very good lesson for everybody listening is like you don't it's another case of you don't need to be perfect. Because
Hmm.
if you're just moving, if you're doing the thing, if you're using a little bit heavier weight as you go,
Yeah,
then you're going to get a ton of benefit, even if you're not doing
sure.
it perfect.
Yep. Yeah, you don't have to be like a textbook, squat or deadlift. And really, what is textbook? It's a little bit different for everybody.
Exactly.
So, long as you're doing good, you're not putting yourself in danger, you're controlling it, you're not ego lifting, you're not using momentum to move the weight, then yeah, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah. And have you ever had like that client that's been on for a little bit? They've never really sent in a form check or anything yet, but then they eventually do, and they've lost weight, they've gotten stronger, they feel amazing, and then you see their form and you're like,
Yeah.
no.
Like, oh man, like you have to send me more of these videos. We got some things to take care of.
It's like everything I thought would go wrong should have already, but it hasn't. Okay, I guess the human body's resilient. We're good.
Yep. Yep. I'm like, oh my God. I know I'd be down for like 3 days if I lifted like that. So
Exactly. But
but
that's one of the
yeah,
beauties of being a beginner, right? You're using like weights that really are not gonna like kill you. So even if
yeah,
you mess up a little bit, you're fine.
yeah. Tell people like don't overthink that. Like send me what you need to send if you feel like something needs to be fixed and we'll fix it. But let me worry about that and we'll take care of you.
Yeah. Because if we're being honest, most people have lifted more weight with their groceries than they have in the gym. So it's like if you can lift your groceries and twist and bend over, you're fine.
Yeah, sure. I'm like you're picking up 40 pounds of groceries or picking up your 50-pound kid, but you're afraid to grab something heavier than 25 in the gym. Like
In all honesty, like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not a parent yet, but when that time comes, I'm going to be more sketched out by my toddler squirming around and me getting hurt that way
Oh
than
yeah.
lifting 400 off of the floor
Yeah,
because it's
you're
not
crawling
moving.
crawling around with them. Yeah, yeah. I've had a lot of back issues over time, and some old injuries. And anytime it ever flares up, it's never like when I'm deadlifting. Like it happened to me a couple
Never.
months ago in the gym. I was like grabbing a 25 off a rack, and I went this way, and then I just almost went down like a house of cards.
Mm, ouch.
So yeah, but then a couple days, all good. So
Yeah, yeah. Because I do think that that's something that not enough people know about is the fact that tweaks will happen. Like we said it
Mhm.
before, tweaks are
Yeah,
kind of just part of the deal of being active, and
yeah.
it's about learning how to go around the injury rather than saying I'm just not going to do anything for X amount of time till it feels better.
Sure. And if you have those tweaks like that while you're training or whatever, you were going to have that tweak anyway if you were sitting down and just getting up. And there's a reason people were walking up the steps and just kind of collapsing when they're not trained. So you would have had it anyway, and you would take longer to rebound from that because you're not a strong person. You haven't trained this way. Your joints aren't used to this. So it's going to help you get back quicker, much
Exactly.
quicker, and much safer from training.
And who's to say by building up that muscle around the joint and learning proper mechanics, like if you do hire a professional to teach you, oh, this is how your joint should be stacked and things like that, and you subconsciously move better, like your gait pattern improves, you might be saving yourself years of a potential injury that would have happened so much faster.
Oh yeah, years minimum. Like
Yeah.
I said, most of these injuries probably would have happened anyway at a much higher scale with
Yeah.
much
Because
rehab. So
I know one of the big tells when it comes to like longevity, for example, is like gait length. So like if you're like shuffling when you walk and then all of a sudden you go to a trainer and you could do a little bit of a lunge, a little bit of a
right.
squat and your gait starts to open up, that could literally add years onto your life.
Oh, big time. Yeah, getting all that mobility back that you used to have or may have never had. So, but yeah, being able to move better, just like even if it's just walking better, is like astounding how much it's going to help you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, when it comes to somebody who is just trying to move better, are there any like, do you have any particular favorites as far as exercises go? Like things that you tend to put in the program a little bit more than others?
I don't know if I favor anything. I always try to make sure you can hinge really well, like deadlift, even if it's an RDL or a kettlebell variation, even if it's something like super light, like you're always going to have to bend over to the ground and stand back up, pick something up off the ground. Always make sure, like, when I say deadlift, everybody thinks straight bar, 400 pounds. I'm like, I'm not talking about that for
No,
you.
no.
I'm not trying to scare anyone who's in their 50s, 60s listening, but it's being able to do that and go from the ground up safely and be able to pick something up, you're going to need that because you're always going to have to do that in your life. So I think that's something that carries over greatly.
Absolutely. Because it is funny how people like really do fear, especially deadlifting, because they've heard like people say, oh, it's horrible for your back and things like
Yeah,
this. But at the end of the day, are we not picking stuff off of the ground? Like, are we not picking kids up? Like, what is that? It's a hinge.
yeah, exactly. So you want to be able to do that safely and get a little bit stronger with that. And, it's going to save you from all those issues later in life by being able to do that now.
Yeah, you might as well learn how to do it in a controlled setting where it's like, okay, I push my hips back, I bend my knees, and this is how it
Mhm.
should feel, rather than, oh, I'm just going to pick something up, and then you hear pop.
Yep. Even if I got to start you with a 10-pound kettlebell, like we'll
Yep,
we'll start somewhere with it. There's a lot of different variations we can go about getting it, but I think that's super important, especially as you're getting older, to be able to do that.
absolutely. Now, I know that everybody kind of has different preferences, but like I know when people are starting to work out, one of my favorite things to do is like high repetitions just to get a lot of practice in. So I
Mhm.
think like to your point, if you can do like a 10-pound kettlebell, like somebody picks a weight up and they're like, well, this is nothing. Day one, that's perfect.
Yeah, I love it. Like give them something like they can handle, they can crush, they come out on a win. Like get that high right away. Like that could keep someone with you forever. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like I can't even tell you, like I know people talk so much shit on the pink dumbbells, and I'm like, I have a lot of workout logs from clients that have been doing
Yeah.
at home 10 pounds and they're in incredible shape. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, of course. And I think that's the other part where a lot of people think everybody wants to look like a bodybuilder at the end of the day. Not everybody does. And honestly, most people probably don't. So it's
Nope.
like if that works for that person, great. Sure, keep doing it.
Yeah, that's why I like guys like Ben Bruno, for example, would put up people that are professional athletes, sure, but then also like Kate Upton, like
Yeah.
models, and they're lifting heavy weights, but they're not trying to get like jacked.
Exactly, yeah. And yeah, I love his style too because he's like I'm trying to get strong, but not like massively huge. And like you say, he's got people from kind of all walks of life, usually celebrity athlete wise, and all have different body types, all lifting heavy. So
Yep, absolutely. And I love his stuff, but and I always want to hop on one of his programs and I'm just like, but I want to get yoked. I want to
yeah.
like put on some muscle. Like, I don't know if I can do that.
I actually got my wife his program last year. She went through and really liked it because I don't know if you're a fiance now.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if she likes to
Yep.
listen to you about fitness stuff. My wife does not, and we're just better off when we don't try to like butt heads with stuff. So I just bought
Uh-huh.
the program, and she really liked
Now
it.
that's a topic I'd love to riff on is spouses and couples when it comes to fitness because my fiance loves Orange Theory. Like when it comes to the whole group class side of things, and
Sure, sure.
she's gotten really good results from it because
Mhm.
she's the type of person that like will pretty much maintain where she's at just eating what she does, but then the second you
Yeah,
add in exercise it's like total change.
sure.
So that's her style and I love that for her, and I love
Hmm.
the fact that I don't have to have any input.
Right, and then you guys do your separate things, and you're good. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have occasional days where we'll go to the gym together and she'll just
Right.
follow along whatever I'm doing and
Mhm.
she'll like do strength movements and feel really good about it. And I'm like, babe, you're really strong. I'm just saying, if you ever wanted to go from Orange Theory to this, you'd be pretty good at it.
Yeah, and she probably get massive changes if she started going like heavy, heavy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, she's got the freak genetics. She's in a league of her own. I'm like jealous. So like if she holds herself back, totally cool. Totally cool.
You keep doing that. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. But I think it is funny with like clients, especially that are spouses, because I know when I used to work at the gym I was at, like there are spouses that would avoid each other like the plague because they would not want to be in the same class.
Yeah, I'd say my wife and I kind of we're more on that end. We don't avoid each other like the plague, but we'll walk in the gym together and we'll go this way. Every once in a while she'll text me.
Pew.
She'll jokingly be like, "I'm trapped under the Smith machine. I don't know what to do. Come help me." She needs help with something, and that's fine. But typically we're separate, and that's fine for us. We're
Yeah.
not the ones smooching each other during the workout.
Oh yeah. Or my personal favorite is when you spot them across the gym and they're like locked in and you just give them the
Yeah.
creepiest face like
Mhm.
all the way across, and then they finally catch you, and they're like, "Just stop
Yeah. Like, "Get out of here, I was in the zone."
it! You're ruining it."
Yep, for sure.
uh, Fun times though. I mean, fit couples. I feel like fit couples stay together longer,
Oh, big time,
big
big time.
time.
I don't have the PubMed on that, but,
All right,
for
we're
sure
we're gonna
most
have
people.
to raise some funds. We're gonna have to
Yeah,
find
we
that
got we
out.
have to figure that out. Might be a good one,
Yep.
to test on.
Yeah, because I mean, if we're being totally honest, like you've probably seen this multiple times too, where it's like one member of the family gets fit and then everybody else kind of tends to follow.
Mhm. Yeah, 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 and you'll probably see too where, like, someone will come to you, they start working with you, and it's not that they don't have the spousal approval of that, but the spouse just kinda doesn't wanna change where they're at.
Yeah, they're doing their own thing.
Yeah, and it's kinda, there's definitely different ways to handle it, but what I've seen works best is I tell them, like, "Don't pressure them. Don't, like, try to make this big, awkward, tough conversation. Just keep doing what you're doing, like, you're doing great." Once they see how happy this is making you, the results you're getting off that, they're gonna, like, kinda even if they just start dipping their toes in, like, "Okay, I'll eat this. Okay, I'll work out with you this one day," and eventually it happens. Sometimes it's quicker than others, but eventually they'll get on board with you.
Yeah, and another thing to add on a little bit to that is celebrating your wins in front of them because a lot of us are not good at picking out the good stuff along the way, but if you go out of your way to do it, it makes you feel better and rubs it in their face a little bit.
Oh,
So they're like, "Wait, I want that."
yeah. Mhm. Yeah, and even if they give you that, like, "Okay, good job," like, really, they're rooting for you, they're happy for you, they're like, "Okay, I think I gotta start doing this soon."
Yeah, because I mean, behind any like sarcastic comment or whatever you get, there's that little piece of their brain in the back that's like, being in shape would be kind of nice right about
Yeah.
now.
They're just sitting there like, "Ah, I kinda feel like shit right now about myself," but,
Yeah, yeah,
eventually, eventually they get on board, so.
yeah. Because nobody really wants to be like unfit and unhealthy. Like everybody would
Yeah,
like to
that's
be
not the
that
goal.
way.
Yeah. It's getting uncomfortable changing what you're doing on
Yeah,
a day-to-day basis, which is what it is for everybody, so.
yeah. And that's my biggest gripe with people that like pick on people that happen to be obese. It's like, oh, they're just lazy. Oh, they just don't want it enough. It's like, no, it's a million other things.
Yeah,
It is not the laziness factor for most, and it is not the unwillingness.
no. That's such a surface level and really lazy way of judging someone because of that. Like, no one's like,
Funny
"I'm
that it's
okay with
lazy.
fat people with liver." Like, no, that's not exactly, like, you're being lazy and, like, you don't know what someone's going through. You don't know what they're dealing with too, so nobody wants to be that way.
No, no. It's usually so many different factors that are just like a cluster of it's a shit storm more times than
Yeah,
not.
of course. Yeah, like, so you don't know what someone's going through. Same thing, if someone's rude to you, you don't know what they're dealing with. I'm just like, okay, carry on.
Eh,
You-
carry on.
not gonna ruin my day.
And that is a superpower that I think also comes from a little bit of working out as well, where it's like your tolerance for like bullshit gets a lot better.
Yeah. Oh, big time. Yeah, you can definitely uh the endorphins you get from it will definitely get you a little bit more patient with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. My personal favorite was the clients that would come in at like 5, 6, 7 a.m. and be like, listen, man, I can't even get through the day without this. Like, and
Yeah.
I'm like, that is one of the best motivators of all time. You're never
Course.
gonna not show up.
Yep. Like, don't have to worry about you showing up at 5 a.m. or sleeping in at all. So love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. The mental side of things is just one of the biggest underrated things of all time because I think people don't understand it. They don't get it until they get it.
Hmm.
Have you seen that with any of your clients that have like just done a full 180 as far as like their mood regulation?
Oh yeah. A lot of times when first time you're meeting or chatting with someone, you can just tell they're just kind of like very down and angry and don't have a lot going for them. And then, you know, couple weeks into it, it's just like they're chirpy and happy and not complaining about anything anymore. They're just like a pleasure. So yeah, gym's I'm not going to say it's a replacement for therapy for everybody because that's a totally different story. But if you're down and you're not working out, you better give that a shot right away because guarantee it's going to help you in some aspect.
Yeah, well, it's like there was that clip of Jim Carrey back in the day where he's like, "Listen, I get like you might be depressed, like you might have to go see a therapist, but it's like, but first, get some sunshine, lift some, like do some exercise, eat
Yeah.
some good food, and give
Mhm.
yourself a chance."
Exactly. Like get some vitamin D in your life, do something healthy for yourself or to do something for yourself, like whatever that may be. And then go into that after if you still need to.
Yeah,
So,
it's that whole concept of self-care, right?
hmm for sure. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Take care of yourself. You can take care of
yeah.
others once you got yourself first.
Absolutely. Especially in the climate now where it's like everybody's overworked and stressed out beyond belief. It's like I don't know how people survive without like the bare minimum exercise and eating somewhat decent.
Yeah. Yeah. It's running down a lot of people, much more people than not right now. So
Exactly.
um, yeah, we just got to keep doing what you and I are doing and keep pushing to help people make that change, you know?
Exactly. We'll do our best to help everybody get healthy because if we can do that in this little corner, that's a good thing and it'll
Sure.
spread.
Yep. Yep. But
Yep.
and that's another thing like why like Vigor Ground and those events are great because you just expand your network. Like we wouldn't even be chopping up right now
Yeah,
without that. So more good people you put yourself around, holds us accountable to continue doing what we're doing to help more people for sure.
absolutely. And to in full transparency, that's the whole reason I even go to those conferences is just to meet people because I
Yeah.
forget if it was you and me having this conversation or it might have been somebody else, but I was like, you kind of get to the point where you don't really pay attention to the talks that much. You're more focused on like, so who's in this room? Who can I make
Yeah.
friends with?
Yeah, because a lot of the like this conference was way better, but sometimes you go to them and the speeches are all rah rah and great, and then like everybody leaves and that's it. So
Yeah.
I went there
Nobody actually
more
does
for
anything.
yeah, more for network and meet people like you and expanding network with like-minded people. I think that's way more important than what came out of the speaker's mouths, which was amazing too, by the way.
Oh yeah. We
It was
learned a
also
ton
great
on in that regard.
yeah, and it was also great because all of them, like everyone I've looked up to for a long time, hung out for the bulk of the weekend and just wanted to talk to people too, which was great. Because a lot of times you go there, they'll make their speech, leave, you never see them afterwards, or they'll say hi to five people and get out. So,
Yep.
but that was great.
Absolutely. And it's super cool too being at those things where it's like I know at like Raise the Bar, for example, it's like an alumni event because like people will see each other from 10 years ago and be like, "Oh, by the way, we're both huge now." So we knew each other back like when nobody knew who the hell we were.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah,
it's always cool.
I think Andrew Coates was talking about that in his how he just went there 7 or 8 years ago, the first one. Now he's speaking at it now.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that's also a good thing to look for. Like if anybody listening right now is like, how do you know a coach is good? Or like, how do you like kind of feel like you're in the right hands? If they do continuing education, like going to events, it's a gigantic green flag.
Oh, big time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because sometimes clients like us, they'll show me a social media video, like, "What do you think of this person?" I'm like, get rid of this. I don't know what you're looking at. And it's like, well, who should I follow? So I kind of get into like one, I'm like, just go through who I follow and follow all these people. But I'll
Yep.
go through like checklists like that. So like if you're in their own corner, not no continuing education, not changing, their beliefs over time with stuff, then that could be a red flag for someone.
Yeah. And it also weeds out the people that are the bit of the loonies in the bunch where they're just saying contradictory stuff that nobody actually agrees with. But the internet creates this false equivalency where it's like, well, they just said this and somebody else said this. So they're 50-50, right? Like one's half right, one's half right. No,
Yeah.
that's not
Not
how that works.
right. And a lot of people out there, they're just trying to play the algorithm. They know if they say something crazy, that's going to get them all the views and followers. And for what? Like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That was like one of the biggest mind blowing things that I ever realized, like joining mentorships and things. Like, also, big green flag if your coach has a coach or has a mentor.
Oh,
Big,
sure.
big
Yep.
deal like to look for, but like the amount of people who have a giant following and make no money at all and
Oh
really
yeah.
suck as a coach is
Mhm.
astounding.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, because like I'm sure you have too. I've been in a bunch of different groups over time, and there's someone like they have like that ripped body all year round. Their page is full of just, shirtless. They have like 1 million followers,
Look at
got, like
me.
3 clients.
Yep.
Like,
You're like, how?
yeah. I'm like, what? But
Or they just have like a laundry list of people that hate them because they like gave them a program and then their VA hit them up once a month or something. And you
you're
never
not
actually
allowed
got to
to.
talk to them.
Yep, yep, for sure. So that's why this is a lot of like, let's say we're in the behavior change business, the communication business. Like, if you can't talk to people, it doesn't matter how many followers, how jacked you are.
Dude, I
You
have
can
no
build that with
idea.
somebody. Like,
I genuinely have no idea how people coach without doing Zoom calls or with phone calls or just having some sort of like personal communication that
yeah,
is long form
hmm
because sending messages back and forth, like shoot me now.
yeah. Oh
I
God,
I can't have a conversation with somebody like that.
absolutely. Like, yeah, losing that human personal connection with them, it's like gone right away. So,
Yep, you need that connection. And I'm pretty sure there was actually a study that came out recently. I think Jordan Lips might have uh, put a post out about it. Like one of the biggest indicators for your success as a client is the connection that you have with a coach.
oh yeah,
Like, do
yeah.
you actually like them and do you actually have an ongoing rapport and communication with them?
Of course, yeah. And that's why, like, I try to, like, especially on social media, but just in general, when I'm talking to clients, like, I'm me. Like, I'm not like I posted the other day. I'm like, fitness isn't 100% of my life. Like, huge Yankees fan, Sopranos fan, pizza fan. I like to talk about that, and I can build that connection with them too. So I think that's better than just like posting just fitness like 24/7, like, and this, do this, and this, and not this, and this. Kind of lose a connection. Like, you don't know who that person is as a person with that.
Yeah. And that's interesting that you say that because I know me, for example, I'm always hesitant to put out the personal stuff. And when I do, everybody
Yeah.
seems to like it. I'm like, I should do more of this. I should do
Yeah, it's
more of
funny.
that.
There's definitely times where I get a lot more interaction on that stuff than the fitness stuff. But
Oh my God. When I proposed, I saw like 20, 30 times the amount of likes. And I'm like, where have all you assholes been for the last 3
oh
years?
yeah, I did that. Like, I think my phone died after like an hour was blowing up so much. So
It's like it couldn't have supported the one about the protein.
right.
Fine.
I'm like, I've put out the like, content every single day the last 3 years, and this gets the most.
Yeah. Or you put up your pet or something and it's like, oh, I
Oh
see.
yeah.
I see
Yeah,
how it
my
is.
dog gets more love than me, all of them.
Always, always. Kids and pets are guaranteed engagement every single
For
time.
sure. For sure. Yeah. If you're running low, do that.
Yeah. But it also does point out a fact that like having somebody who's a real human is a big help
hmm
because also being at like these events and things, I've been to a plenty where there's people that are waking up at like 4 or 5 a.m. to do a lift and then they eat perfectly at lunch. They can't go out with you because they have their specific meals. And it's like this person, like, if I lived this life, I would be miserable.
Yeah. Like, and that's exactly what I'm trying to get everybody away from. You know what I mean? It's because there's a
Yeah.
lot of beliefs that you have to live like that and have to do that. And it's keeping a lot of people from starting. So
Yeah, and it gets glorified and expected, and people don't realize that's honestly a prison. Like, do you want to keep your
Mhm.
results out of fear, or do you
yeah,
want to keep your results because you know that you are empowered to make decisions given whatever situation you're in? You're in a fine spot because you know what to do.
for sure. Yeah. And that's like that leads to body dysmorphia, eating disorders, living that way where I'm like, I could be perfect on everything all week, but if you're like, hey, Kyle, let's go out for a burger and beer tonight, I'm like, let's go.
Let's
100%
do
of the time,
it.
never gonna say no? And you should be able to do that and not feel like you're screwing anything up because you've been good the bulk of the time. So, and it's part of life. So,
Yep. But at the end of the day, you got to learn the secret sauce. You got to learn the
yep,
recipe of how to do that.
yep, yeah, and it's way easier said than done. Way easier said than done. So,
Oh yeah.
mm,
Well, I'll challenge you on that. It's way easier than people think it should be. And that
Yes.
discomfort of it being easy is the hardest part.
Mhm. Oh, for sure. For sure. I definitely
Because
agree with you on that.
I know we've had those clients that are like, wait, this is it? Like
Mhm.
that's it? Like nothing else? And you're like, well, why do you want something else?
Yeah. And they're just expecting something crazy. And like I I'll have to look up the stats for building habits, but when you give someone one thing to focus on at a time, it's like a 90 plus success rate. Again, don't, you know, quote me on all the
Hey,
exact
we
numbers, but
can assume it's a lot
you give
higher than
yeah,
adding
give
on.
them two, and it's like you're gonna fail, basically. So focus on one at a time. Let's do this. You know, I'll help you with some other things along the way, but once this is down, we add the next thing. This is down, we add the next thing. And then, you know, a
Yep.
year from now, you have six, eight new healthy habits that you didn't have a year from now. Like you're golden. You're golden.
Yep. And those habits don't go anywhere because you took the time to learn them and actually ingrain them, not completely turn your life around 180 and say, I'm going to eat this specific way because this program told me to.
Exactly. I see a lot of people post 75 hard, day 55, you know, building the healthy habits. I'm like, oh.
I have mixed feelings about 75 hard.
I think there's definitely people who will benefit from that, but for the bulk of the gen pop, that's not something that you're ever going to need.
Yeah, I think if you frame it the way that the original guy meant to frame it, it's very
Right.
beneficial. But
Sure.
then, like all good things, you get a million people doing it, and it turns into this competition of I could do it more hardcore than this person, and I could
Of
do it more
course.
hardcore than
Yeah.
this person.
Yeah. If you're someone that's looking to like level up for a mental like toughness type of challenge, that might be good for you. And you have to be pretty, you know, trained and somewhat advanced going into it. Sure. If you're someone starting
Yep.
from like day zero, like stay as far away from that as you can.
Yep. Because
So,
I know this is probably maybe going to go out about 3 weeks from now, 2, 3 weeks from now. But back like 2, 3 weeks from right now, as everybody's listening, like
mhm.
this week, actually, this week, I ran a challenge for myself of like doing daily podcasts, actually fresh off of Vigor. I'm like, I'm going to do a podcast every single day.
Right.
And I'm like, I have no intention of keeping this up forever, but I'm
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
push it to find out what I'm capable of. And I
Mhm.
think that's what people need to really start thinking about when it comes to stuff like this, these challenges is like, it's to challenge your beliefs that this is all you're capable of.
Right. Hmm. It's kind of a mini challenge for yourself to kind of push you out of whatever comfort zone you might have been in with it to go the next step, and that's good as opposed to thinking you have to do a bajillion things every day to keep you there to or do a billion bajillion things to get successful. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And then when you do the repetition of that stuff day after day after day, you pick up on the benefits. You pick up on the things that you weren't doing or the things that you thought up along the way. And those are the
Yeah.
wins. But too
Hmm.
many times people do these challenges and then they fall off and they're like, I completely failed. I wasn't perfect. I am horrible. And it's like, no, you missed all the good stuff. Go back, go back.
Yeah. And now that's just like another 75 hard beef I have is because you miss one thing, you have to start everything all the way over, which is
Yes.
belief a lot of people have. Where I'm like, no, we just move on. We're not trying to make it up. We're not starting over. It's like today's a new day. Like, let's go.
And I'm pretty sure the original rendition did not have that rule that you have to start over.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's possible, but
Because I remember, I think it was Daniel Yorez, also awesome
okay.
podcast, guys. If you guys are listening right now and you want to find a next one, Daniel Yorez has an awesome one. But he
Yeah,
put up
he's a
something,
good follow too. Yeah.
yeah, great follow. And he put up something about the original 75 Hard. And I got to reading it and I'm like, this sounds really reasonable. This
Yeah.
is
Like, oh, I
like
could do
totally fine. And then
this.
you look up like 75 Hard on Google and you're like, that is not that.
Right.
So it's all good things get twisted.
Yeah. Blew up too much and other people trying to put their 2 cents in and changing things and yeah.
Exactly, exactly. But it is what it is. That's fitness, that's nutrition. It's always how can we
That's
go more
right.
hardcore and make this more unsustainable for everybody so that that way I feel better about myself and I'm going to use it to feel like I'm superior.
You just said it all in a nutshell right there. You said it all.
That if there's nothing else, just listen to that little
Yep.
sentence right
Yep.
there.
Take that right there. And and you'll get it.
Yep. Everything makes sense after that.
For sure.
Yep. But we're going to put a cap on it here. We're going to just let everybody really take all this in because I know it was a lot. And honestly, if you guys haven't heard these concepts before, it could be like mind blow number one, mind blow number two. And you're just over here taking shots like, oh my God, this is a lot for me today.
Yep. Yeah. So take one, cut this off after 5 minutes, go at it, come back later.
Exactly. Exactly. Master one thing, come right back.
Sure
But
thing.
if somebody wants the reinforcement of following you and having all this good advice, where can they find all your stuff if they want to hear more?
Yeah, I'd say best spot's probably my Instagram. It's Fasano underscore fitness. So Fasano Fasano. Hopefully that came out clear. Fitness. So everything there. You can reach out to me there via DM, email from there.
Awesome. And that'll be in the show notes, in the description, wherever the heck you're listening or watching. So go ahead, click away. Kyle's an awesome follow. And as a thank you for Kyle coming on the show, if you heard anything that resonated where you're like, oh my God, my mom or my aunt or my sister, somebody needs to hear this specific part, go and send this their way. And just tell them Brian and Kyle say hi.
Yep.
And we thank you for it ahead of time.
Yep. Yep. Appreciate all you guys for that.
Absolutely. But thank you so much for tuning in all the way through. Really do appreciate it. But I'll see you all next time. Thank you, Kyle, for coming on again. And everybody, until next time, go kick some ass. I'll see you later.